In a previous video, I mentioned that I found these two different cardstocks at my local grocery store, and I picked them up to give them a test out, so I'll walk you through what I did. So I have links in my show notes down below of all of these cardstock products and kind of a comparison of their prices as well. I've been buying a 65-pound weight Neenah cardstock from Amazon for quite a while, and that's what I mostly use in my card making. I do have some other cardstocks on hand, and I pulled those out to compare them to these two new products also. So one of the other ones I have is a Neenah 110-pound cardstock that I purchased from Simon Says Stamp. I also have an 80-pound Neenah paper, and both the 80-pound and the 110-pound are the Neenah Solar White, which I hear from a lot of crafters is the best paper on the market. I have it and I use it, but honestly, I've been pretty happy with that 65-pound Neenah paper. And honestly, the price of that 65-pound Neenah paper is pretty good, so it's kind of hard to beat. Now here you see me, I'm just kind of comparing the thicknesses of these papers and to see how well they bend and move and hold up to weight. In comparing the 65-pound weight paper to the 80-pound weight paper, I honestly am not noticing enough of a difference that it would matter to me. So if I were going to choose something, I'd probably choose the less expensive paper in that case. And then moving on to the brand new papers, I pull out this Neenah paper, and I am really curious how this Neenah paper compares to what I already own. And as I look at it and play with it, I'm finding that it's actually really similar. I suspect that it's the same product, just in a different package. So moving on to the 110-pound weight papers, we've got the Georgia Pacific there on the left and the Neenah Solar White on the right. And I put them through kind of the same side-by-side comparisons in terms of weight and thickness. And I think the Neenah 110-pound is actually a heavier weight than the Georgia Pacific 110-pound. So just because it says 110 pounds doesn't exactly mean you're going to have a thicker cardstock. And I slightly prefer the Neenah to the Georgia Pacific, but the Georgia Pacific is quite a bit less expensive, so that is a big factor to take into consideration. And then when I compare the Georgia Pacific to the 65-pound weight paper, I think they're fine. And when I'm done comparing all the cardstocks in this section, I find that 65-pound weight Neenah cardstock, both my original and the new one, still make me happy. And this Georgia Pacific 110-pound is a lovely addition for a heavier weight cardstock. I did like the whiteness of the Neenah Solar White a little bit better than the other cardstocks, but really I'm pretty happy with the 65-pound Neenah and the 110-pound Georgia Pacific. So I moved on here, and I've sped this section up just a little bit to some other tests that I like to do with cardstock. And I used two different inks, and I stamped the same image across all of the papers, just a basic black ink and then a metallic ink, just to see how each a pigment versus a dye ink behaved on the cardstock. And really, to me, I didn't see a whole lot of difference, so I was pretty happy with all of them. And I did put them in order here, but for all intents and purposes, I really thought they were all just fine. And then for another cardstock comparison, I took a punch, and it's got a lot of fine details on it, and I punched out every sheet of paper to see how it would behave. And if you take a close look at all those holes, really they all came out fairly clean. I think there was a couple pieces of paper that had a little bit of fibers showing, but it didn't bother me at all. And then I also took the cardstock and I used my bone folder to fold it in half and see how crisp that edge would get, because that can be something that can bug you about cardstock if you get a lot of cracking. So I think the main deciding factor between all these papers is a combination of how white do you want your paper, how much money do you want to spend, and how convenient is it to you to purchase these items. Because I can get the Georgia Pacific and the Neenah 65-pound in my grocery store, I'm going to stick with those. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.